I made a mistake. Yeah, one of the first things about, improving is to admit when something happens, to own it. And that's what I'm doing by saying that right off the bat here. And what am I talking about? Well, let me take you to square one. All right, we'll start at square one. First of all, we all know that we had this big move in the euro-US dollar last week, in the euro. And, the reason why is they said that they came up with some agreement, yada, yada, yada. Obviously, the devil's in the details, and there wasn't a whole lot of details released at that time. But it was a good news story, right? Good news story. And I actually made a video. You probably see one on this blog. And what I said in that was, I said there's sort of a resolution in the Greece crisis, yada, yada. And the markets responded with some vigor. And I was referring to this move here. And I said, it's not all roses and there's still some work to be done. Well, was that not true or was that not true? See, here's the thing. Yeah, it seemed like it was a great news story, right? But as the weekend went through and the overall picture is it's still in pretty rough shape, right? Someone still has to come up with the money, right? I know China's being touted as that as well, to pony up some dough. So what happens is you get these really great news stories, and people are all over those, and rightly so. You can make some good money doing that, but at the end of the day, on a bigger picture, the macro scale, what's really the story? The real story is that, hey, you know what? Yeah, it's good news that there's some sort of resolution in the works, but the bottom line is moving that forward, right? Everyone, you can look outside in your driveway and see a brand new sports car, right? On the top of the line, fully loaded, chrome everything. Well, it's not going to do any good if there's no gas in it, right? It's good to look at, but really it's ineffective. And that's kind of what we saw. Sunday night, the Japanese government intervened in their currency. And, you never know what leads one. But the bottom line is we saw a tumble in the euro-US dollar. US dollar got some strength against the euro. Obviously, that's going to happen when you look at the intervention that from the Japanese did. Now, the thing about interventions, it's very hard pressed to have an intervention really turn the table on anything, right? Because overall, the big picture is still what it is what it is. And still, I can show you a little note here. I wouldn't say that it's over. You never know what's going to happen. A little note right here, and it says that more or less flatlining this dollar yen. But chatter suggesting that Japanese officials remain vigilant and active. And the Bank of Japan seen as dollar buyers in the last hour or so. And this is at 2:23 New York time today on Monday the 31st, reminding of their intent. All right. So who knows what's going to happen, right? They're talking about further intervention. So you keep your eye on that. That's for sure. That's what happened here. See what happened in the subsequent sell-off. Well, here's what happened on Friday. I didn't trade an active trading session at all. After a big move like that, 300 pips, you're going to expect some sort of, ranging until the market the market participants kind of look at their what they've done. So what I did, I put a position on to short the euro-US dollar last week. And I held it over the weekend. And I'll show you that in a second. And the reason I did that for was, like I just said, when you get these kind of moves like this, it's all good news, right? You think it is, but really what's really been what's really occurred, right? What's really happened? And really nothing, right? Until the ball starts rolling. So enough of that going on about that. I'm trying to keep this as general as possible because this can get really in depth, and I'm not prepared to do that in these videos. Just going to get an overall look at what I was looking at. Okay, so I was happy to take a short position in the euro-US dollar, and the good thing is I was already in my position before the Bank of Japan intervened. Now, is that good or is that bad? Well, it's fantastic because I'm already in the market, right? So any moves down or up. Well, up would have been bad for me, but I wasn't expecting the euro at all to keep on going up. I'm I'm about to bring up a 5-minute chart of the euro US dollar, and I started off saying I made a mistake, and you bet I made a mistake. The error I made, I felt like punching myself in the face, to be quite honest with you. Seems a little harsh. Well, not really. I'm pretty hard on myself. When you're aiming for something, when you're striving for something, maybe I should update this thing. This thing pops up all the time. When you, what was I saying? When you're striving for something, you can get really frustrated, and usually I'm pretty good at holding things together. But the error that I made is brutal, and I remember I did it, and I walked away, and then biggest mistake I did is I came back and take a look. So let me just, enough. I'm sure you guys go, what is he talking about? So this red arrow here is pretty much where I went short around the same time, around 9 o'clock in the morning-ish. Now, like I said, I wasn't actively trading. I was not going to actively manage this position at all. Either it was going to stop out, right, which would have said what I analyzed and my thoughts on everything were wrong. But what I needed for this trade to move was something to get some order flow flying, right? Get some orders flying through the market. Because when it's ranging back and forth, there wasn't anything going on. So what really could do that? I needed a break below here, right? So any breakout traders that were there to help me out. I'm not a big breakout trader at all. I could be in my position before the breakout. And the reason for that is number one, I'm already filled, right? I don't have to worry about any liquidity problems whatsoever, right? I'm going to get filled. I'm already in the market, right? So all I get to do is ride the wave down. And that's what's very, very exciting about it. But so this is my position already. So I held it over the weekend, and I wasn't too worried about it. I just held it. Didn't bother me. Over here, you see the intervention starts coming up, and it breaks through. Now, there was some touting of orders in certain areas in this area from last week that were here. Now, if you just take a look at this, I'm trying to explain this as without going into getting it too crazy in detail, because it can be very difficult to explain. So let me just see if I can give me some. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so what we got here is, a lot of traders thinking, okay, we had this big move in euro, right? Get long, get long, get long, get long, right? And you can see what's happening here. These bounces up, right? So I'm thinking to myself, what's going on here is we're going to get some stops nicely built up in this area right here, right? And when those get broken, for the longs, that's a good thing, right? Because if you're long, to get out of the market, what do you got to do? You got to sell your position, right? So with the breakout trader, so I was looking for a move down, all right? It's long story short. This is what happens here. Now, I had a target, and I'll show you that target in a second. But what happened here is the market busted down very, very nicely, very, very fast. This is one of the quickest trades I've really been in. Well, not really. If you consider it was over this week over here. But I was expecting this breakout, which happened here about 21:30. And we're going to go over here. So overall, it was like a less than an hour trade. So it was a pretty quick trade. But this dot here is where I got out. You're probably thinking, wow, look at the move you missed. And this is why I was kicking myself. But here's the one key that I did not do. I did not chase this market. It would have been easy just to mark it in and go short. And it didn't, I didn't really think about doing that at all, quite frankly. I had no reason to do that. Yeah, I missed the move. And then we're getting into later on in the Asia session, and I got to sleep. So what happened here is this what happened. I'm in this area here. Now I got out right around here, 22.14. I'll show you the details in a second. So what happened is the price came down here, and this area is where there were some orders that were already touted. There's some medium demand here, and there's some stops in this area as well, hoping to get, break through that, trigger the stops, and well, you can see what happens. This is how it eventually plays out. So what happens is, and this is a fast move up. I'm watching this happen. It's a big move up fast against my position. No big deal. It is what it is, right? I'm expecting it, because look what we're getting into, right? When this happened here, it bounced up here, and sure enough, it fell fast through here. So I'm thinking to myself now, I say, okay, I know the intervention just happened with the US dollar, Japanese yen. Don't know how long it's going to last, right? We have no clue. You have no idea until after the fact. So I'm thinking this, it took a nice run up, right? Maybe it's a sucker rally, getting some traders long, right? That's fine. Or what else could it be doing is, does it come up this high? Not really. And then it takes a nice big run at it. Problem is, and I said to myself in this area, if it does not break through this before it clicks up past 80, I'm out of this trade. That was my plan to get out. So in that regard, I got out when I said I was going to get out. Well, I got out, and probably about 10 minutes later, this thing just caved in. Now here's where it gets worse. If it can get worse. Oh, believe me, it can. The whole purpose of this video is just to show you that, hey, you know what? We're all human. We all make mistakes. One thing I wanted, you see these kind of big gapping up prices, like these big kind of parabolic moves. Markets can chop right through those all the way down here. When I say chop, I don't mean chop as in, you're used to hearing that word chopping sideways. I mean chop, just like a knife through butter, just fly right through those. These are great to trade, and I like to use these. You get out in this little mess right here. There's a whole stack of orders, right? Get out here, right? Because you're not going to have any problem. You're not going to get any slippage whatsoever, right? Generally. So my original plan was let it break through here, right? That's what I thought was going to happen. That was my intention way over here. Well, it wasn't the trade when I saw this anyways, and when it wasn't breaking through this level that I had said, okay, I know there's some orders here. It's got to break through. It's got to break through. It's got to break through. What I did not want, it was another run north. I didn't want to be part of that. Well, look what happens. It falls through. Now see this line right here, 39.69. That was when I set this trade up, that was my target. There's a 185 pip target on a 29 pip risk, 30 pip risk. Risk to reward 1 to 6. This is a fantastic setup. It's a fantastic trade, and for me, I did everything right, except I didn't follow my plan. I didn't follow my plan. I didn't really have any reason to get out of this trade, and this is the point where I'm trying to get it now. I had a plan, and I broke my plan for really no good reason. There was no reason to really break it. Did anything change? No. Did all of a sudden did the Eurozone come out with, hey, everything's solved now, we're out of debt? No. That was still what it was, right? Were some traders, still looking for buying the US dollar? Sure, nothing changed. Nothing really changed to make me get out of that, right? The sentiment was still what? South, right? It was still short, the euro US dollar. But I got out. Maybe I was tired. I have no excuses for it whatsoever, and I really can't make any except I screwed up. And it cost me a really good trade. Now, at the end of the day, I got over 70 pips on this trade. All right. And I'm going to show you the numbers in a second. So can I take that and say, hey, you know what? You did okay. Pat myself on the back. No, I didn't do okay because it cost me. And as a trader, you can't afford to make these kind of mistakes, right? Because these kind of trades, this was a perfect scenario, perfect situation. 185 pips. It's incredible. But I blew it. I blew it for myself. I got out with 70 odd pips profit. Now it's better than nothing, right? It's better than nothing. And sure enough, this is where it came down to. Now, what was so magical about this area right here? Nothing really. It was basically in this area right here. And what is this? Pretty much where the explosion happened. That was my target. What comes up comes down, right? And as you can see, it came down pretty strong. So let me show you some stuff. Obviously, I took out the, details, account details, etc., etc. So here's the deal: 903 on the 28th. I sold the market at 41.54. Now, because I sold at the market, I didn't put in my stops and my targets until a few minutes after that. 907. The reason time difference changed is because I first put my stop loss in. There's another panel here, but I didn't put it up here. I put my stop loss in, Got that in the market, and then I put my take profit in. And you see it was at 39.69. And here's what happened. Move my stop, right? When the market was coming down, one thing that I was not going to be a part of was any sort of, kickback. So basically I locked in a handful of pips just in case. But at the end of the day, I got out at 40.81, 4081 from 41.54. A few things, but at the end of the day, you got to stick to a plan. And my plan was simply, couldn't get any more simple. Take my short position here because I'm totally expecting what? I'm expecting a move south. I'm expecting this to fill up, right? And I'm expecting because, it was good news, but on the overall big picture, what's the big picture? Money's not really flowing, right? Nothing's really happening. So I was just expecting it to retrace again, and it certainly did, and it came right down into my target that I had here. So does that make me a bad trader? No. It makes me human, and perhaps I should be a little bit more in tune with myself, because this was getting kind of late at night when I got out. What was it, 10 o'clock, 10:30 or something like that? Let me take a look here. 22:14, so 10:14 Eastern time, and it was Sunday after the long weekend. I mean, it was a long weekend, not a long weekend, but it was a long weekend, right? It was a busy weekend, I guess is a better word for it. So that's it. Take one thing from this video. You have a trade plan, right? You better. Or plan for each trade you take. Because I don't have one overall trade plan for trading like this, because you can't, right? Things turn on a dime. But I know what I'm going to do in certain situations. Stick with it, because if not, you're going to miss out on trades like this that, and at the end of the day, reaped up a lot of pips, and I wasn't a part of it. I was a part of it for a little bit of it, but in the day, my full target was hit without me on it, so it's kind of a killer. All right, if you have any questions, drop an email, put them in the comments below, and thanks for watching.